Well, I met her. She worked for Screen Gems, which is connected with Columbia Pictures. And she needed someone to cut demos for her. And that's how I started working with Helen Miller. And then she, everything I did, she backed me on it. She's a Jewish woman, kosher. She ate more collard greens than I did. I went in to cut a demo for her. It's called Now That I Need Him. I think she wrote it for Gladys Knight, because Gladys Knight and I had the same producer at that time. I would rehearse with Gene maybe at 7, and then Gladys would come in and rehearse with him 9, and then there were Kool and the Gang. He also produced them.
Later on.
Yeah, yeah. So those were the good old days. Helen and Rose used to write songs all the time together. And I can't remember any song that Helen wrote by herself. Helen was very, very liked in the business, and she was a genius too.
Yeah.
She was just so talented. I've never met a white woman like Helen Miller. Because she would walk in, and I tell you, her mouth was like a garbage can. When it came to her music, you know, like we would go out for supper and just laugh and laugh. But when we would go into the studio, she was very serious. The dress that I was wearing on the CD that you made for me, Helen Miller picked that out, and the wig.
Oh, really?
You know, I did the presentations for Inner City for 2 years. And we were doing presentations for backers. They were trying to get backers. And they finally got the backers to put it on Broadway. So I went for interviews. It wasn't interviews, it was auditions. And I had a callback. The producer had me come back. And so when I went back, and I did the callback, and 2 days later, she told me that the producer said I wasn't black enough. And that's the biggest disappointment I've had in my whole career. Because I did the presentations, I helped sell the show, and he had the nerve to say I wasn't black enough. See, I started my career with a daughter, and then I got married and I had more children. So I started my career with children. So I was never in the streets or where I wasn't around these people that used all these slangs. Mm-hmm. And this producer thought I should know different slangs that he mentioned, like, well, if you were going to say this, what would you say using slang? And I didn't have a clue. I mean, everybody knows the word fuck, but that was about it, yeah, as far as slangs and using those words. Mm. But that was a big disappointment. And then my hair was straight, and everybody had afros. Yeah. Then there was Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope. That was a Broadway show, and they took it on the road. And I had a chance to go to Michigan and Chicago with the company. The producer loved me. Pickwick wanted me to record for them for a while. And when they sold the Broadway show, and the girl that was performing, my mother said, wasn't making it, then Helen had to call me. And Pickwick was very happy, but I told them that I would want an advance to do it. And they paid it, and I did it. The lyrics are really, really good. And I really think Helen Miller wrote that song from my life during that time. Because I used to tell my children that they will never, ever have to worry about anything as long as I'm raising them and they listen and they do good in school. And my mother said was sort of like that. I remember Helen rehearsing You Made Me This Way before I recorded it. And she said, I want you to record this song. And I said, okay, well, when you finish the song, we'll get together and we'll see what I can do with it. And we did.
It says here that both songs were produced by Helen Miller and Charles Calello.
Yes. He was a big-time producer, and I was honored that he wanted to produce that record. He produced, what's her name, Connie Francis, and big stars. I think I recorded another record for Pickwick, but I don't know if Helen, because Helen wrote a lot of songs for me, and I don't know if she didn't give them the rights to release it or not. But that's the only one that they released that I know of.